More than 700 post office managers were prosecuted by the post office for fraud, theft, or false accounting, most of whom were financially ruined. Some had to declare bankruptcy and pay back tens of thousands of pounds. Many of them went to prison or did community service, but all of it based on faulty software. This is the post office scandal. But first of all, if you're new to me, I'm Daniel Shensmith, a barrister of England and Wales. I enjoy helping you to understand law, so please do hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to receive updates on my new videos. So all of this happened between 1999 and 2015, and to date, 93 convictions have been overturned, with the government paying out almost £150 million in compensation. The scheme and the inquiry are ongoing. What made it worse is that the post office carried these out by way of a private prosecution, and all under its own terms. Many of those terms you might find quite questionable, which among other things prevented the individuals in question having legal representation present during the interviews. The Ministry of Justice has recently said that it wants the criminal appeals system to be as efficient and effective as possible, adding that it has asked the Law Commission to examine whether reforms are needed and is waiting for that review to be concluded. So here's a bit of an overview of what happened. In 1999, the UK government, which is the post office's single shareholder, began to use an automated accounting process for around 14,000 post office branches. This meant that there was a centralised computer system supplied by Fujitsu, which all branches were connected to. This would replace any traditional paper-based accounting systems. However, before long, it came to light that there were lots of problems with this system, and lots of sub-postmasters were suffering unexplained accounting shortfalls. Instead of investigating the problem and finding solutions, the post office instead blamed the branch managers, many of whom it then went on to prosecute by way of private prosecution for financial crimes, including theft, fraud, and false accounting. Many of them were bankrupted, had to pay back tens of thousands of pounds, and of course lost their entire livelihood. So what is this piece of software, and what were the problems? The software was called Horizon. It was originally developed in the UK by a company called ICL, but that was then acquired by Fujitsu in 1998. This system had an electronic point of sales service, meaning that sub-postmasters and branch workers could key in the sales on a touchscreen, with accounts then being automated in the background, but it didn't allow them to correct for certain problems. Some of these problems being that immediately upon using this software, many sub-postmasters noticed that there were significant shortfalls that they could not explain. Many of them said that they'd never experienced these problems before, and they started ringing the helplines. Only they now say that the helplines instead blamed the sub-postmasters. And these postmasters were not employees of the post office. Rather, they had a contract with the post office to run those branches. And they usually, obviously, have a retail business attached, which most of you will know as the local newsagents, with a post office incorporated at the back. As a result of all of this, for 15 years after the rollout of the Horizon software, the post office, which has private investigation and prosecution powers, with no need for any police involvement whatsoever, prosecuted over 700 postmasters for the crimes of theft, false accounting, and fraud. Hundreds of whom were sent to prison. Many had to do community service and wear electronic tags. Of course, they also had criminal records for the rest of their life. So with all of this being so private, it took a High Court case to determine that there were indeed bugs, errors, and defects in the Horizon software, which the court found could and did lead to these problems. Let's take a look. This is the judgment of the group litigation in the High Court, in the then Queen's Bench Division. And it's this section here that talks about the bugs and the errors and the defects in the Horizon software. Reading from the outset, the court addresses accuracy and integrity of data. The first issue was to what extent was it possible or likely for bugs, errors, or defects of the nature alleged to have the potential, A, to cause apparent or alleged discrepancies or shortfalls relating to sub-postmasters' branch accounts or transactions, or B, undermine the reliability of Horizon accurately to process and to record transactions as alleged. The answer the court found was that it was possible for bugs, errors, or defects of the nature alleged by the claimants to have the potential, A, to cause apparent or alleged discrepancies or shortfalls, and B, to undermine the reliability of the Horizon to accurately process and record transactions as alleged. Further, the court goes on, all the evidence in the Horizon Issues trial shows not only was there potential for this to occur, but it actually has happened, and on numerous occasions. This applies both to Legacy Horizon and also Horizon Online, which was a later iteration of the software. It has happened under both of these iterations of the online system, but far less frequently under the latter than the former. Accordingly, the judge said, "I accept the claimant's submission that, in terms of likelihood, there was a significant and material risk on occasions of branch accounts being affected in the way alleged by the claimants by bugs, errors, and defects. This is amply demonstrated by Dr. Warden's evidence. He accepted that there was strong evidence of at least 12 bugs causing lasting discrepancy in branch accounts. This conclusion was reached even within the context of his unjustified creation of both transient and lasting impact, which limited his consideration of this and is an approach which I have rejected." Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has said that the government is looking into whether all of those convicted could be exonerated or the Post Office could be stripped of its role. He said, "Obviously there's legal complexity in all of those things, but he's looking at exactly those areas that's been described. It is right," he says, "that we find every which way we can to try to make this right for the people that was so wrongfully treated at the time." A Post Office spokesperson has said that "we share fully the aims of the public inquiry to get to the truth of what went wrong in the past and establish accountability. It's for the inquiry to reach its own independent conclusions after consideration of all the evidence on the issues that it is examining." Not only that, the Metropolitan Police is now investigating the Post Office over potential fraud offences arising from all of these prosecutions. It said that potential offences could relate to the monies recovered from sub-postmasters as a result of prosecutions or civil actions. The Met has already been examining potential offences of perjury and perverting the course of justice in relation to the investigations and the prosecutions carried out by the Post Office itself. 2 people have been interviewed under caution, but nobody has been arrested since the investigation began some 4 years ago. The Met Police has also announced a new investigation after 50 new potential victims of this whole scandal have come forward following the ITV programme. Finally, the Prime Minister has encouraged anybody that's been affected by this scandal to come forward so that they can get their compensation payout as quickly as possible. Do let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe, and as always, thank you for watching.